Tay hunched over the salvaged communication device, his 4 violet eyes blinking rapidly as he focused. The small metal box sat on his bedroom floor, covered in strange symbols that most Vexarians couldn't read. But Tay could. He had taught himself the ancient human language through old data records his parent Hana had brought home from the colony archives. His 6-fingered hands moved quickly across the controls. The room around him was simple: a sleeping mat, some glowing plants for light, and shelves filled with odd bits of technology he'd collected over his 12 cycles of life. "Tay, your dinner's getting cold," Hana called again from the kitchen area of their modest dwelling. "Coming," Tay replied, not taking his eyes off the device. The tiny screen flickered with static as he adjusted the frequency scanner. Outside his window, the swirling gases of the Orion Nebula painted the night in blues and purples. Their colony floated on the edge of this beautiful but feared region of space. Most people avoided the nebula. Ships disappeared there. Strange signals came from it. The Galactic Conclave had officially marked it as a restricted zone. Tay knew all the stories. The adults talked about ancient guardians and space monsters when they thought children weren't listening. But one story interested Tay more than any other: the story of humans. Humans had been a powerful species once. They had built amazing ships and technologies. Then, about 500 years ago, they had simply vanished. Some said they destroyed themselves in a great war. Others believed they ascended to a higher form of existence. Tay's favorite theory was that they were still out there, hiding, waiting. The device in his hands might have belonged to one of them. Tay had found it 3 days ago while exploring a small debris field that had drifted near the colony. His friend Jun had been too scared to take anything, but Tay couldn't resist the strange box with its blinking lights. As Tay turned one final dial, the device suddenly came to life. It hummed and pulsed with energy. The screen cleared, and a series of numbers appeared. "Coordinates," Tay whispered to himself. His heart beat faster in his chest. The device began to emit a rhythmic beeping sound. Each pulse seemed to call to him. Tay quickly grabbed his datapad and copied down the numbers. The coordinates pointed to a location deep in the forbidden zone of the nebula, at least 2 days' journey in a small ship. Tay heard footsteps coming down the hallway. He quickly tucked the device under his sleeping mat just as Hana entered the room. "Tay, when I call you for dinner, I expect you to..." Hana stopped, noticing the guilty look on Tay's face. "What are you hiding?" Tay's skin flushed a deeper blue. "Nothing, just studying." Hana's eyes narrowed. "You know the rules about bringing unknown objects into our home, especially anything from the debris fields." Hana walked over and lifted the edge of the sleeping mat, revealing the device. "Oh, Tay, this looks like human technology." "I just wanted to see how it worked," Tay said. Hana picked up the device carefully. "The Conclave has strict rules about human artifacts. They must be reported immediately." "But why?" Tay asked. "What are they afraid of?" "It's not about fear. It's about safety," Hana said, though her voice lacked conviction. "Human technology is unpredictable, dangerous. Or the Conclave doesn't." "Want us to know something?" Tay muttered. Hana sighed. "We'll discuss this after dinner. I have to report this tomorrow." After Hana left with the device, Tay pulled out his datapad. The coordinates were safely stored. He stared at the numbers, feeling like they were pulling him toward something important. That night, while Hana slept, Tay snuck out of their dwelling. He made his way through the quiet corridors of the colony until he reached the small ship hangar, where his friend Jun worked as a cleaning assistant. Jun was surprised to see him. "Tay, what are you doing here so late?" "I need your help," Tay said, showing Jun the coordinates. "I think these lead to something important, something human." Jun's eyes widened. "Are you crazy? The nebula is restricted." "Just for a quick look," Tay pleaded. "You know how to operate the maintenance shuttles. We could be there and back before anyone notices." Jun looked uncertain. "My supervisor would kill me." "What if it's something amazing?" Tay asked. "What if the humans left something for us to find?" Jun hesitated, then nodded slowly. "My shift ends in 1 hour. Meet me at loading bay 6, but Tay, if we get caught, we're both in serious trouble." Tay grinned. his eyes bright with excitement. "We won't get caught. And if I'm right, we might make the greatest discovery in 500 years." As Tay slipped back to his dwelling, his mind raced with possibilities. Whatever awaited at those coordinates, he knew it would change everything. The small maintenance shuttle hummed quietly as it drifted away from the colony. Tay sat at the main controls, his fingers moving quickly across the navigation panel. Behind him, Jin paced nervously while Sun finished securing their supply containers. "This is a terrible idea," Jin said for the 5th time. "We'll be in so much trouble when they notice the shuttle is missing." Sun rolled her eyes. "Then why did you come?" "Someone has to make sure you both return alive," Jin replied, her skin changing to a lighter shade of blue, a clear sign of her anxiety. The shuttle was designed for short repair missions outside the colony. It was small, with just enough room for the 3 young Vexarians and their supplies. Tay had programmed the navigation system with the coordinates from the human device. According to the ship's computer, they would reach their destination in about 6 hours. "My parents will be looking for me by morning," Tay said. "We need to be quick." Jin looked out the viewport at their colony growing smaller behind them. "Quick? We don't even know what we're looking for." "Something human," Tay replied, his eyes shining with excitement. "Something important." As the shuttle moved deeper into the nebula, strange colors swirled around them. The gases and dust created beautiful patterns that few Vexarians ever saw. Up close, under different circumstances, they might have enjoyed the view. "Conclave patrol ship detected," the shuttle's computer announced suddenly. Sun quickly dimmed the interior lights. "Hide!" Tay reduced power to all non-essential systems and guided the shuttle behind a large cloud of dust. The 3 friends held their breath as the massive Conclave patrol ship passed by. Its searchlights cut through the nebula, sweeping methodically through the area. "They're looking for something," Jin whispered. "Or someone," Sun added. After 10 tense minutes, the patrol ship moved on. Tay restored power to the shuttle systems and continued their journey. An hour later, they encountered another patrol ship and had to hide again. "The Conclave really doesn't want anyone in this area," Tay observed. Jin's 4 eyes blinked rapidly, which should tell us something. Despite the close calls, they eventually reached the coordinates. The shuttle's sensors showed only a scattered field of asteroids floating in the purple haze of the nebula. "There's nothing here but asteroids," Sun said, disappointment clear in her voice. Tay frowned and checked the coordinates again. "This is exactly where the device was pointing. This doesn't make sense." He guided the shuttle closer to the asteroid field. As they approached, the shuttle's warning systems suddenly activated. Red lights flashed across the control panel. "Unknown. Energy field detected," the computer announced. "We should leave," Jin said, grabbing Tay's shoulder. But Tay was transfixed by what was happening outside. The asteroids were moving. Not drifting as space rocks normally would, but shifting in a coordinated pattern. The entire field seemed to ripple like water. "That's impossible," Sun whispered. The asteroids weren't asteroids at all. As the field parted before them, the true nature of what they were seeing became clear. Hidden within the false asteroid field was an enormous structure. It was bigger than anything they had ever seen, bigger even than the Conclave headquarters. "Is that?" Jin whispered, unable to finish her sentence. "A human Stardestroyer," Tay finished, staring at the massive vessel that was now revealed before them. The name HSS Invictus was emblazoned on its hull in ancient human script. The ship was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Its hull was smooth and black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. The design was nothing like the rounded, organic shapes of Vexarian vessels or the angular, efficient designs of Conclave ships. This was something else entirely. Sleek, powerful, and unmistakably built for war. "It's huge," Sun said, her voice barely audible. "It must be at least 5 kilometers long." "The stories were true," Tay whispered. "Humans really did build ships that could destroy stars." Jin was shaking. "We need to report this to the colony." "Not yet," Tay replied, guiding their shuttle closer to the massive ship. Don't you want to see inside first? Inside? Jin's voice rose in pitch. Are you crazy? That thing has been floating. Here for centuries, it's probably not safe. But Tay wasn't listening. He had noticed something along the hull of the Invictus, a small opening that looked like a docking bay. Lights around the opening were pulsing gently, almost as if the ship was inviting them in. It's still powered, Sun observed, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. After all this time, human technology, Tay said with reverence, just like the stories say. He guided their shuttle toward the opening. As they approached, more lights activated along the hull, creating a path to follow. Tay, please, Jin begged. We don't know what's in there. That's why we came, Tay replied, his heart's beating fast with excitement and fear. To discover something no one has seen for centuries. As their shuttle entered the massive docking bay of the human Stardestroyer, none of the young Vexarians noticed the small communication probe that detached from their vessel, a standard safety feature of all colony shuttles, now broadcasting their location to anyone who might be listening. The air inside the human Stardestroyer felt strange against Tay's skin. It was perfectly clean and fresh, not stale as one would expect after centuries of abandonment. The gravity was slightly stronger than what they were used to in their colony, making each step feel heavy and awkward. It's like this place was just waiting for someone to find it, Sun whispered as they entered a long corridor. The ceiling towered at least 3 meters above them, clearly designed for beings much taller than Vexarians. Jin stayed close behind, her friends, her 4 eyes darting nervously in all directions. Don't touch anything, she warned as Tay reached toward a glowing panel on the wall. The corridors were lined with soft blue lights that activated as they approached, lighting their path forward. The walls were made of a smooth, dark material that none of them recognized. It wasn't metal or plastic or any composite used in conclave ships. Look at these markings, Tay said, pointing to symbols etched into the walls. Human language. I recognize some from my studies. What do they say? Sun asked. I think this one means command and it's pointing that way, Tay replied, indicating a junction ahead. They followed the signs toward what they hoped was the ship's control center. Along the way, they passed rooms filled with strange equipment, sleeping quarters sized for giants and what appeared to be weapon storage areas. Humans really were warriors, Jin said softly, peering into a room filled with what could only be advanced weaponry. The stories weren't exaggerated. Despite Jin's warning, Tay couldn't help himself. He touched everything: control panels, wall surfaces, door mechanisms. Each time his 6 fingers made contact with the ship, he half expected alarms to sound or defense systems to activate. But nothing happened. Until it did. As they entered what appeared to be the main command center, a vast circular room with a central platform surrounded by control stations, Tay pressed his hand against a particularly interesting panel. The ship suddenly hummed to life around them. The floor vibrated beneath their feet. Lights brightened everywhere. Display screens activated all around the command center. Jin grabbed Tay's arm. What did you do? Before Tay could answer, a voice spoke from all around them. To their shock, it spoke in perfect Vexarian. Welcome, visitors. Initial systems restored, primary functions online. A figure appeared in the center of the command platform. A shimmering blue hologram of what could only be a human female. She stood nearly twice as tall as the young Vexarians, with 2 arms, 2 legs, and features that matched the few human images Tay had seen in historical records. I am Atlas, Artificial Tactical Logistics and Security System of the human Star Destroyer Invictus, the hologram said. Identity scan complete. Species, Vexarian. Age category, juvenile. Number, 3. The 3 friends stood frozen in place, staring at the hologram. Are you going to kill us? Sun asked bluntly, always the most direct of the 3. The hologram's expression changed slightly. Something almost like amusement crossed its features. Negative. Threat assessment. Curious juveniles, non-hostile intent, Atlas responded. You are the first sentient beings to discover this facility in 732 years. Tay stepped forward, his heart's racing with excitement. You can understand us? All known galactic languages were part of my programming, Atlas replied. Your language patterns have evolved only marginally in the intervening centuries. Why? Are you here? Jin asked, finding her courage. This ship, it's enormous. Atlas nodded. The HSS Invictus is the command vessel of the 7th Human Fleet. This facility houses not just this ship but an entire battle group, 57 warships of various classes, all in hibernation mode. The hologram waved a hand, and the walls of the command center became transparent, revealing the true scale of what surrounded them. Their small shuttle had entered just one small bay of what was actually a massive space station. Inside this hidden facility, suspended in preservation fields, were dozens of ships as large as or larger than the Invictus. The humans built all this? Sun asked in awe. Correct, Atlas confirmed. This is one of 7 emergency contingency fleets positioned throughout this galaxy. But where are the humans? Tay asked the question that burned most in his mind. The records say they went extinct in a great catastrophe. Atlas's expression became more serious. The humans did not go extinct. They executed a strategic retreat. Retreat? Jin echoed. From what? From the conflict that would have destroyed this galaxy, Atlas replied. Rather than engage in a war that would have ended all life in this region of space, humanity chose to withdraw to the Andromeda Galaxy. Tay's mind raced with this revelation. The stories all say humans disappeared overnight. Some believed they ascended to a higher plane of existence. A convenient explanation spread by those who remained, Atlas said. The truth was classified, at the highest levels. But why leave these ships behind? Sun asked. Insurance, Atlas answered simply. And hope. These fleets were left with specific awakening protocols. They were to remain dormant until discovered by a species worthy of alliance, beings demonstrating curiosity, compassion, and courage. The hologram looked directly at Tay. Your actions in coming here, young Vexarian, have satisfied those protocols. Tay felt a mix of pride and fear wash over him. What happens now? Now, Atlas said, we determine if it is time for humans to return. But first, there is much you need to understand about the true history of this galaxy, and why humanity left. The hologram waved a hand again, and a 3-dimensional star map appeared around them, showing the entire galaxy. The peace your galactic conclave claims to maintain is built on lies, Atlas began. And those who rule it now are the same beings who forced humanity's retreat. As Atlas spoke, Tay realized their simple adventure had just become something much bigger and much more dangerous than any of them could have imagined. Tay's hands trembled as he piloted their small shuttle out of the massive docking bay. His mind was racing with everything Atlas had revealed to them. The true history of the galaxy, the real reason humans had disappeared, the Draxian betrayal. It was too much to process. We need to tell someone about this, Sun said, still staring at the small data crystal Atlas had given them. The Colony Council needs to know. Are you crazy? Jin replied. The Conclave monitors the Council. If they find out we discovered this place, they'll destroy it immediately. Tay carefully navigated through the false asteroid field, which was actually an advanced holographic camouflage system. Atlas said we should only share this information with people we completely trust. The resistance groups will know what to do. As they cleared the camouflage field, their shuttle's alert system suddenly blared to life. A massive shadow fell over their small vessel. Conclave cruiser detected, the computer announced calmly. No, Jin whispered, her skin paling to a light blue. How did they find us? The answer came almost immediately as the shuttle's communication system activated. A stern voice filled the cabin. Maintenance Shuttle CV-479. This is Conclave Enforcement Cruiser Righteous Judgment. You have entered restricted space without authorization. Power down your engines immediately. Sun frantically checked the ship's systems. The emergency beacon, it activated when we entered the asteroid field. It's been broadcasting our location this whole time. Tay tried to turn the shuttle around, hoping to reach the safety of the camouflage field, but a tractor beam locked onto their small vessel before they could move. By order of the Galactic Conclave, you are under arrest for trespassing in restricted space, the cold voice announced over the communication system. Any resistance will be met with lethal force. The data crystal Atlas had given them felt heavy in Ty's pocket. He quickly pulled it out. Hide this, he whispered to Sun, passing her the crystal. They can't find it. Sun nodded and slipped the small crystal into a hidden pocket she had sewn into her clothing. Moments later, their shuttle was pulled into the massive docking bay of the Conclave cruiser. Armed guards, both robotic and organic, surrounded the shuttle as soon as it touched down. The door hissed open, and harsh white light flooded in. Exit the vessel with your upper limbs raised, ordered a tall Draxian officer. The three young Vexarians had no choice but to comply. As they stepped out of the shuttle, Tay got his first close look at a Draxian. The reptilian being stood nearly 3 meters tall with scaled skin, vertical pupils, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. The stories said Draxians had helped rebuild the galaxy after the human disappearance, bringing peace and order through the Galactic Conclave. But Atlas had told them the truth. The Draxians had orchestrated humanity's departure. They had manipulated the other species into a false peace while slowly taking control of everything. Juvenile Vexarians, the Draxian commander said, looking down at them with obvious disgust. What were you doing in restricted space? We got lost, Jin said quickly. We were testing the shuttle's new navigation system and made a wrong turn. The Draxian's forked tongue flicked out, tasting the air. Lies, the commander motioned to his guards. Take them back to their colony. Their parents will be dealt with appropriately for this breach. The journey back to the colony was spent in tense silence. The three friends were kept separate, each guarded by armed Conclave soldiers. Tay tried to make eye contact with Sun, desperately wondering if the data crystal was still safe, but the guards prevented any communication. When they arrived at the colony, things were even worse than Ty had feared. A crowd had gathered in the main plaza. Colony security forces stood at attention while Conclave officials addressed the colonists. Tay was led directly to the plaza, where he saw his parent Hana kneeling before a Draxian commander. The commander was tall even for a Draxian, with elaborate markings on his scales that indicated high rank. This is the child? The commander asked as Tay was brought forward. Yes, Commander Wu, one of the guards replied. Commander Wu leaned down, his reptilian face just centimeters from Tay's. His breath smelled of meat and something chemical. Do you know what you have done, little Vexarian? He hissed. Tay tried to appear frightened and confused, which wasn't difficult. We just went for a ride. We didn't mean to go into restricted space. Wu's eyes narrowed. Your shuttle's logs show you spent several hours in that sector. What did you find there? Nothing, Tay lied. Just asteroids. The commander straightened up and addressed the crowd. This juvenile has violated Conclave space restrictions, but more concerning is what we found in his dwelling. A guard brought forward the human communication device that Tay had found days ago. Human technology, Wu announced. Forbidden contraband. The commander turned to Hana, who was still kneeling. You are charged with harboring human sympathizers and failing to report dangerous artifacts to Conclave authorities. Please, Hana begged. My child is just curious. We meant no harm. Curiosity about humans is itself a threat to galactic security, Wu replied coldly. He motioned to his guards. Take this one and its mate to the processing center on Conclave. Prime, standard rehabilitation protocol. Tay watched in horror as his parents were taken away. No, they didn't do anything wrong. Commander Wu looked down at Tay. You have much to learn about obedience, young one. You will remain here under supervision until we determine if you have been contaminated by human influence. That night, Tay lay awake in his dwelling, now guarded by Conclave drones. The images of his parents being taken away kept replaying in his mind. He had also learned that Sun and Jin were being held separately, their families also under investigation. When the colony's sleep cycle reached its deepest point, Tay made his move. He had spent years exploring every corner of the colony and knew ways to move unseen. He slipped past the drones by crawling through a maintenance shaft that was too small for the machines to follow. He made his way to Sun's dwelling first. Her family was also under guard, but Tay managed to tap a simple code on her window, a secret language they had developed years ago. Minutes later, Sun appeared at a small vent near the ground. "Do you have it?" Tay whispered. Sun nodded and passed the small data crystal through the vent. "What are you going to do?" "Find the resistance," Tay replied. "Atlas said they exist on every major world. I have to reach them before the Draxians figure out what we found." "Be careful," Sun whispered. "They'll be looking for you everywhere." Tay clutched the crystal tightly. It contained everything: the location of the human fleet, the true history of the galaxy, and most importantly, a way to contact the humans in Andromeda. "I'll find a way to free all of you," Tay promised. "And then we'll show everyone the truth." As he slipped away into the darkness, Tay knew that every authority in the galaxy would soon be hunting him. But for the first time in centuries, there was hope. Tay stood on the bridge of the HSS Invictus, hardly able to believe how much had changed in 3 months. The massive command center hummed with activity as resistance members from a dozen different species worked at stations designed for humans. Next to him stood Jin and Sun, both looking as tired as he felt. Their journey had been hard and dangerous. After escaping the colony, Tay had found his way to a small trading outpost where he'd made contact with the Resistance, a secret network of beings who questioned Conclave rule. "Remember when we thought we'd be in trouble just for borrowing a shuttle?" Sun said with a small smile. Jin shook her head. "Now we're committing full rebellion." The Resistance had helped rescue their families. Tay's parents had been freed from a Conclave prison transport before reaching the rehabilitation center. They were now safe on a hidden base along with Sun and Jin's families. Over the past months, Tay had learned that the Resistance had existed for centuries, started by beings who had witnessed the truth of humanity's departure. They had always known the Draxians had forced humans to leave, threatening to destroy entire worlds if they didn't. "Fleet awakening sequence complete," Atlas announced, her blue hologram appearing beside them. "All 217 vessels operational." Tay looked out the main viewport. The massive space station had opened completely, revealing the full human fleet. Each ship was now glowing with power, systems coming online after centuries of hibernation. "It's beautiful," whispered Meek, the Resistance leader who had helped them return to the Invictus with reinforcements. Tay turned to Atlas. "Why us?" He asked the question that had been bothering him for months. "Why did you allow us to wake the fleet?" Atlas smiled, a strangely human expression on her holographic face. "The awakening protocol required discovery by a species demonstrating curiosity, compassion, and courage. Humans created this fleet as a contingency before relocating to another galaxy. They left instructions that it would awaken only when found by beings worthy of alliance. But we're just children," Jin said. "Sometimes," Atlas replied, "the young see truth more clearly than the old." The main view screen suddenly activated, showing a star field that none of them recognized. The image shifted, focusing on what appeared to be a command center similar to the one they stood in. A human appeared on the screen. She wore a dark uniform with silver markings. Her skin was tan, her hair black and cut short. Her eyes widened, slightly at the sight of Tay and his friends. "This is Captain Ju of the Human Alliance," she said. "We received your signal. The evacuation was never meant to be permanent. We're coming home." The bridge fell silent. After centuries, actual contact with living humans. Tay stepped forward. "I am Tay of Vexaria. We found your fleet 3 months ago. The Draxians still control the Galactic Conclave. They have oppressed all species for centuries." Captain Ju nodded gravely. "We've been monitoring from afar. The signal from Atlas triggered our return protocols. Our primary fleet has already begun the journey from Andromeda. We'll arrive within the month." "A month might be too late," Meek said, stepping forward. "The Draxians know something is happening. They've increased patrols everywhere. They're arresting anyone suspected of resistance ties." Ju's expression hardened. Then you'll need to use what you have. The hibernation fleet was left for exactly this purpose, to help worthy allies defend themselves until we returned. But none of us know how to operate these ships, Sun pointed out. Atlas will guide you, Ju replied. The ships were designed to be operated by any species, and they're only a fraction of what's coming. The human captain looked directly at Tay. 700 years ago, humanity faced an impossible choice: fight and watch countless worlds burn, or retreat and wait for the right moment to return. Your discovery of the fleet proves that moment has come. Meek turned to the resistance members on the bridge. Send the signal to all cells. It's time to stand against the conclave. Tay felt both terrified and excited. 3 months ago, he had been a child playing with old technology. Now he stood at the center of a rebellion that would change the galaxy. On the screen, Captain Ju spoke again. The Draxians will detect your fleet the moment it moves. You'll need to strike quickly. Disable their main communication hub in this sector. Can you do that? Tay looked at his friends, then at the resistance members around them. Everyone nodded. We can, Tay said with more confidence than he felt. Atlas's hologram expanded. I have uploaded tactical information to all command stations. The primary target should be the Conclave communication hub at Sector 7. Tay walked to the captain's position at the center of the bridge. Though the chair was designed for someone twice his size, he climbed into it and faced the view screen. Set course for Conclave headquarters, Tay said, sitting taller than he ever had before. Captain Ju nodded from the screen, a look of approval on her face. Together. As the massive Stardestroyer began to move, breaking free from its centuries-long slumber, Tay thought about the small communication device he had found in that debris field. Such a tiny thing had led to this moment, the return of humanity, and the beginning of true freedom for the galaxy. Around the Invictus, the rest of the human fleet moved into formation. 217 ships, each powerful enough to challenge the entire Conclave fleet. The Draxians won't know what hit them, Sun said with satisfaction. Jin, always more cautious, added, Let's hope we survive to see it. Tay watched as the stars began to streak past the viewport. The rebellion had begun. Soon humans would return in force, and the lies that had shaped the galaxy for 700 years would finally end. A new age was dawning, and it had all started because a curious child had found an old device and couldn't resist seeing what would happen when he turned it on. The end.